Recent improvements in technology and hard work at excavations have brought to light amazing artifacts and secrets that had been hidden for thousands of years. Archaeologists and scholars are both fascinated by these finds, which include everything from strange objects to whole cities that have been lost in time. Many of these findings add to what we already know, but others have completely changed how we think about past societies. Come with us as we look into the most amazing new historical finds. Number 20. Medieval Water Tunnel. Underneath the grounds at Hyde Abbey in Winchester, England, archaeologists and volunteers from the Hyde 900 charity discovered a remarkable artifact in August 2022. The medieval water tunnel that was unearthed here dates all the way back to the 9th century, when King Alfred the Great was reigning. It is quite probable that the abbey's refectory, kitchens, infirmary, and even the monks' dormitory latrines were watered via the tunnel. It is thought that water from a mill dam nearby was directed into the abbey's inner precincts via the tunnel, a complex vaulted culvert. An unusual window into the sophisticated technical abilities of medieval builders is what makes this discovery so important. The finding takes on more historical significance due to the structure's proximity to King Alfred's burial site. Hyde Abbey served as both a religious center and a royal burial ground. The researchers also found a number of objects that provide light on medieval life throughout the excavation. Pieces of Roman pottery, medieval tiles, broken window glass, and human bones were among these artifacts. Because of its association with one of England's most fabled rulers, the location remains a major focus for historians and archaeologists. Many consider this astounding find to be among the most significant artifacts ever found at Hyde Abbey. It provides insight into the inhabitants' technical skills as well as their everyday lives throughout the Middle Ages. Number 19. Cuquillo. Near present-day Mexico City, on the shores of Lake Texcoco, stood the city of Cuquillo. In 800 BC, when it was first opened to the public, it had already grown into a significant regional center for trade and ritual. About 20,000 people called this city home, and it had all the hallmarks of a prosperous Mesoamerican metropolis: enormous plazas, magnificent pyramids, and more. The Mexico Valley's rich soils allowed agriculture to flourish, and the economy grew as a result. However, constructing their city next to a gigantic volcano was a huge error on the part of the Cuquillo inhabitants. At the close of the pre-classic era, in 100 AD, the Zatel volcano erupted. Cuquillo was engulfed in molten rock when a tremendous flood of lava swept across the city. The inhabitants of the city quickly evacuated to neighboring safer towns such as Tula and Teotihuacan after the eruption. Although Cuquillo's culture did not completely vanish, it did blend with Teotihuacan's, and the migration of individuals from Cuquillo contributed to Teotihuacan's ascendancy to power. Partially as a result of the legacies left by the Cuquillo people, Teotihuacan became Mexico's most significant hub for the following 5 centuries. Number 18. The ancient city of Sopis. Sopis, a Bulgarian historic city, is located near the lake's base. In 1948, while building a dam, it was found. This Thean city could only be studied by archaeologists for 6 years before the land was submerged to make a man-made lake. They worked swiftly, but when the dam was completed, the floods engulfed the city, seemingly submerging it forever. The Bulgarian architect Georgiev had a grand vision to restore and maintain Sopis in 2005. He proposed enclosing the remains in walls to prevent water from getting in, so that visitors might explore the city by boat. After that, they could peer through the barriers and see the rebuilt artifacts. If finished, the project, which would cost more than $50 million, would be among the most impressive attempts to bring a long-lost metropolis back to life. But we haven't even started the project yet. The city of Sopis was destroyed in 281 BC by an invasion by the Celts. The majority of the houses were constructed outside of the municipal borders, which left the inhabitants exposed, and this was the city's fatal mistake. The Celts slaughtered the locals and set fire to the city upon their arrival. Number 17. Thaso-Titan fossil. A startling find was found in Morocco by paleontologists in August 2022. One of the fossils they unearthed belonged to a gigantic marine predator called Thasso-Titan atrox, whose name means dreadful titan of the sea. Standing at a whopping 30 feet tall, this aquatic reptile from 66 million years ago was anything from average. Imagine a terrible hybrid of a Komodo dragon and a great white shark, with a dash of Tyrannosaurus rex and killer whale thrown in. That's what Thasso was like. Near Casablanca, a group of paleontologists from the University of Bath found the specimen. Among the sea lizards known as mosasaurs, Thasso stood out due to its position as an apex predator. In contrast to its mosasaur cousins, Thasso pursued sea turtles and other huge marine reptiles rather than fish and squid. Evidence of the savagery of its diet is the many broken and worn teeth, which are the result of its enormous conical teeth design for crushing bones. Nearby, researchers discovered the bones and heads of many marine animals that had been partly digested, as well as other parts of Thasso's prey. Number 16. The City of Bones. Archaeologists in 2011 uncovered a shocking find in China's northeastern area. Within the old hamlet of Hamamanga, they found the densely packed bones of 97 people within a single home. This discovery is both remarkable and perplexing, since it pertains to a community that goes back around 5,000 years to roughly 3000 BC. The skeletons belong to people in their 20s and 30s. The hasty assembly of them implies that the town was hit by an unexpected and devastating disaster. Scientists have been working around the clock to figure out what happened that led to the sudden and catastrophic death toll. There was little evidence to support the first hypotheses, which included catastrophic fire or a violent assault. The most likely cause is a devastating disease that has just hit the town. The Yersinia pestis bacteria, according to experts, is likely to blame for the devastating epidemic. The notorious Black Death, which ravaged medieval Europe, was actually caused by the same disease. Communities such as Hamamanga were pioneers in animal domestication and organized agriculture throughout the Neolithic era. Rodents, which can spread illnesses like the plague, were probably drawn to the vast amounts of grain that were stored. The population may have been more susceptible to infectious disease transmission due to close interaction with domesticated animals. The difficulty that early tribes had in settling down and cultivating crops is shown by this terrible episode. Deadly illnesses might spread because of the environment they unwittingly created. Number 15. Drought in Mayapan. Extensive new research by researchers from across the world has shed light on the collapse of the Maya metropolis of Mayapan. By the middle of the 5th century, the Maya had abandoned this city, which had served as their final bastion. The Maya were responsible for their own demise, unfortunately. The Yucatan Peninsula was under Mayan control for 3,000 years, but by the 9th century AD, their kingdom was starting to fall apart. Much of their domain descended into anarchy in the span of a century. On the other hand, Mayapan was able to stay alive. Even when other towns crumbled, it rose to prominence in the 12th century as the Maya Empire's capital, and remained so for the next 3 centuries. With a population of 15,000 to 177,000, Mayapan was a sophisticated metropolis in its heyday. Mayapan may have survived the Maya drought that devastated other Maya towns long enough for the Spaniards to reach. However, the destiny of the city was altered by a prominent family called the Shu family. As the drought ravaged the empire, this noble family saw a significant decline in their influence. They staged a rebellion against Mayapan in 1441, fueled by rage and despair. As a result of the insurrection, the city was sacked, ripped apart from the inside, and eventually reduced to ruins. The Maya's grandeur vanished in an instant, and the worst part is that they were the ones to blame. Number 14. Sculpture of Kil. Archaeologists unearthed a priceless sculpture of the Mayan deity Kil in May 2023 while building the Maya train in Mexico. Along portions of the railroad track, which extends from Bacalar in Quintana Roo to Escara in Campeche, this monumental discovery was found. This sculpture is unique among artifacts since it depicts the deity Kil, who is associated with lightning, strength, and fertility. The sculpture was discovered inside a stone alcove, with the lid featuring Kil's likeness. There has never before been a discovery in Mexico of a three-dimensional portrayal of Kil. There were only 3 other sculptures found before this one, and they were all in Tal, Guatemala. Big eyes, a cocked snout, and a stone belt sticking out of his forehead are the qualities that make this monument uniquely Kil. The Maya Train Project has uncovered many artifacts, including pottery and human bones, in addition to around 50,000 ancient buildings like this one. Number 13. The end of the Byzantines. The Byzantine Empire's waste management was a major issue. Their excessive waste caused a great deal of illness and suffering. Following Rome's destruction by the Goths in the 5th century, this empire continued for an additional 1,000 years. However, the Byzantine Empire did fall in 1453. El-Fel, a Byzantine city in Israel's Negev desert, was recently the site of an archaeological dig by Guy Barrow of the University of Hia. The researchers found that garbage collection, which had been a dependable service, ceased in the 6th century for almost 150 years, well before the empire itself fell. The handling of garbage came to an abrupt halt. A breakdown in public services and infrastructure was evident from this. It is astonishing that the Byzantine Empire began to crumble when there was relative calm and stability. It seemed like everything was going swimmingly under Roman Emperor Justinian's watch as he expanded the empire. But in reality, things were unraveling. Diseases sprang out as a result of the infrastructure's breakdown, which was probably caused by political difficulties. As garbage collections ceased, the city rapidly fell into disrepair. As the collapse of El-Fel shown, a city's internal troubles may lead to its demise. An early sign of the Byzantine Empire's impending demise was the loss of this little city. Number 12. Aztec sacrifices. Right in the middle of what was once the spiritual center of the Aztec Empire in Mexico City, archaeologists discovered an exciting find in 2019. On a circular platform next to the stairs of the Templo Mayor, the most important temple of the Aztecs, they discovered a big stone box. Prior to its destruction in 1521 by the Spanish, this 15-story temple had been an architectural wonder of the Aztecs. A jaguar clad in Aztec warrior regalia was discovered inside this stone crate. Given the meticulous attention to detail, it was clear that this relic had profound ceremonial importance. Beside the jaguar, the bones of a kid were found, dressed as the Aztec deity of battle. There were additional valuable artifacts found around this youngster, who was probably a sacrifice. Jewel-encrusted flint knives, the skeleton of a bird that looked like a flamingo, and a variety of shells and coral. Because no one has yet found the tomb of an Aztec ruler, these finds are very important because they may indicate the direction. Excavations in the region have shown that the Aztecs interred their monarchs in cremation, with lavish gifts and the hearts of slaves that had been slaughtered, a practice that has persisted through the ages. With the jaguar standing in for the monarch as a courageous fighter, the items and placement inside the box give the impression that it may be the tomb of an emperor. Rigorous digging outside the Templo Mayor allowed for the finding. Nevertheless, the project encountered financial obstacles, even if it may have historical importance. Numerous archaeologists have gone unpaid because the Mexican government cut funding. With any luck, they will be able to go back to work soon and find the long-lost tomb of an Aztec monarch from 500 years ago. Number 11. Emperor Nero's Sphinx Room. Conservationists working on Emperor Nero's palace in Rome in 2018 made a breathtaking discovery: a subterranean room that had been concealed for more than 1,900 years. In this hidden chamber, you may see colorful paintings of sphinxes, centaurs, and panthers. As a result, the room has been lovingly called the Sphinx Room. The Domus Aurea, a palace in Rome, was built in the aftermath of the 64 AD Great Fire that destroyed much of the city. Nero accomplished his greatest feat with this magnificent mansion. Despite its centuries-old state of decay, the Sphinx Room's rediscovery sheds light on Nero's profound love of art. There are paintings depicting fruits, flowers, aquatic creatures, exotic birds, and the deity Pan in this area, along with other fantastical creatures. There is a lot of dirt covering this room at the moment, and if you dig it up, it may compromise the palace's foundation. Consequently, the whole Sphinx Room riches may have to wait till they are securely investigated. An investigation into the life of a very contentious Roman emperor started in early 2019 and is expected to provide further details about his reign in due course. Historians and archaeologists are captivated by Nero's tumultuous personal life, which encompasses his iconic building achievements as well as the reported assassinations of his mother and both of his wife, as well as his own suicide. Number 10. Cahokia. Cahokia, a huge and lively metropolis, existed 1,000 years ago on the banks of the Mississippi River, close to what is now St. Louis. It extended for kilometers and had huge fields, expansive plazas, and lofty earth mounds. With a population of 20,000 or more, Cahokia was a more spectacular city than even Paris in the 1100s. It evolved into a gathering place for Native Americans from all across North America to share meals, perform rituals, and barter goods. Nevertheless, Cahokia was unexplainably deserted by 1350, a mere 250 years after its zenith. One of the biggest archaeological mysteries in North America, its abrupt collapse baffled historians and archaeologists for years. New research out of the University of Illinois is shedding light on the enigma, indicating that Cahokia's downfall was caused by its own actions, ecocide, if you will. Excessive tree cutting by the Cahokian people caused devastating deforestation and soil erosion, according to the research. There was a rise in floods as a consequence of this quick environmental shift. The city became especially susceptible to seasonal rains due to the manner in which the trees were chopped down. Nothing could have prevented the city from being inundated by the torrential downpour that hit, almost eradicating whole communities and driving their residents from their homes. Number 9. Roman Villa Complex. As they were building a new community in Grove, Oxfordshire, in March of 2024, archaeologists from the Red River Archaeology Group stumbled across something quite remarkable. Archaeologists uncovered a Roman villa complex that had been inhabited from the 1st century AD to the late 4th or early 5th century. Brookside Meadows is an exceptional location because to the abundance of artifacts and elaborate ornamentation. Among the complex's notable features are painted plaster mosaics and a hippocaust, an innovative system for underfloor heating. Miniature votive axes, a horsehead belt buckle, and jewelry were among the most intriguing artifacts found, and they all point to the site's potential religious importance. The late Roman military aristocracy may have been associated with the buckle, which dates back to 350–450 AD. Curiously, there was also a set of blank lead scrolls that were tightly wound and looked like Roman curse tablets. It is possible that the villa complex also had an agricultural function, since the site also included T-shaped furnaces that were used for drying cereal grains and hops. Number 8. Medieval Necklace. British archaeologists in the Northamptonshire hamlet of Harpo discovered a remarkable find in 2022. The Harpel treasure, a magnificent medieval necklace that had been buried for more than 1,350 years, was unearthed. Far more ornate than comparable items held by the British Museum, this necklace is unique among artifacts from this era. The necklace was probably worn by a lady of great rank, maybe an abbess or a minor royal, and dates back to around 630 to 670 AD. It has 30 pendants and beads made of various materials such as gold, semi-precious stones, garnets, and coins from Rome. The focal point is a huge rectangular cross that was likely formerly a hinge clasp and is elaborately adorned with gold and garnets. Both the beauty and the preservation of the Harpel treasure are noteworthy. It ranks high among the most important early medieval findings made in the United Kingdom. A huge, elaborate crucifix with silver carvings of human faces was also present at the burial site, further attesting to the significance of the deceased. Number 7. Hand of Ule. An old bronze artifact was unearthed by researchers in northern Spain in 2021, casting doubt on all our assumptions on the late Iron Age Vasconese tribe. What we now call the Hand of Ule is more than simply an ornamental item. It contains what is thought to be the first inscription in the Basque language, carved more than 2,100 years ago. In 2022, as the restoration process started, specialists were taken aback to discover a 4-line inscription on the hand. An uncanny resemblance exists between the initial word soru and the contemporary Basque term meaning good fortune. Academics were taken aback by this revelation, which showed that the Vascones were literate prior to Roman domination. The Hand of Ule, contrary to popular assumption, was probably meant to dangle over a doorway as a protective symbol. In doing so, it provides a direct line to the Basque people's linguistic origins and a remarkable window into the early Vascones' use of writing and language. Number 6. Burnt Neolithic porridge. German researchers uncovered an intriguing artifact in January 2024 at the Neolithic site of Oldenburg LA7. Around 5,000 years ago, they uncovered the charred remnants of what may be the oldest burned porridge in the world. An irate Neolithic chef threw the cracked clay pot into a garbage heap, and the contents showed the cooking accident. Some of the things in the pot were barley, emmer wheat, and white goosefoot seeds. Blending these grains and nuts with water was probably how this old porridge was made. Sadly, the oatmeal turned up burnt and unfinished because of an unforeseen event that occurred during cooking. In spite of the ruined dinner, this find provides a unique window into the cuisine and lifestyle of early Northern European agricultural groups. The inhabitants of Oldenburg LA7, one of the earliest settlements in Germany, obviously placed a premium on a diversified diet that included grains and wild vegetation. Even the Neolithic people had trouble with the same kinds of cooking problems as we have today, according to this burned pot. Number 5. Scali. The village of Scali is under the majestic Mount Etna in eastern Sicily. This area is notoriously risky for permanent settlements. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are only two of the many disasters that Scali has had to endure. The settlement has been rebuilt in the same spot, despite being destroyed by lava flows several times throughout the millennia. Everything in its path was burned by a huge lava flow that blanketed the whole region between 1284 and 1285. However, the tenacious villagers went back to their hamlet and rebuilt it once the eruption subsided. There was a never-ending cycle of devastation followed by reconstruction. The most recent disaster occurred in November 1928, when the old center of Scali was obliterated by another eruption of Mount Etna. Again, the folks persisted. They choose to relocate a little farther downstream and reconstruct their community. The history of Scali reveals the unwavering resolve of its inhabitants, who persist in staying there despite the ever-present danger. Unfortunately, they will inevitably have to rebuild after another eruption of Mount Etna, which they live in the shadow of. Number 4. Tartessos faces. In May 2023, archaeologists in the middle of Spain uncovered a new artifact that radically alters our understanding of a long-lost civilization. Unearthed near Mérida are 5 monumental stone busts that are completely new to science. The Tartessos were a mystery people who vanished from human history more than 2 millennia ago, and these sculptures are the earliest human representations of them. These sculptures, which date to the 5th century BC, were discovered in a sealed pit with sacrifice animal bones around them. 2 of them portray almost complete female forms adorned with elaborate jewelry. These deities probably had great authority. This is significant because up until this point, scholars had assumed that the Tartessos religion's deities could only be represented in non-human forms, such as plants or animals. Everything we believe to be true about Tartessos has been proven wrong by the busts. Some historians, like Aristotle, have connected this culture to the mythical Atlantis, and these artifacts provide insight into their religious and creative activities. Number 3. Roman Ferrari bed. Archaeologists unearthed the first whole Roman Ferrari bed ever excavated in Britain in early 2024, under the streets of central London. It was an astonishing find. 20 feet below Earth, in the historic River Fleet's wet muck, lay an extraordinary bed. The bed, crafted from premium wood, has a history that spans over 2,000 years. This piece showcases the exceptional workmanship of its era, with its elaborately carved feet and joints that are secured with wooden pegs. The bed was more than simply furniture. It was probably used to transfer the body of the dead to the cemetery, where it was painstakingly disassembled and laid in the grave. In addition to the 3 earlier Roman-era wood coffins found in London before this, the excavation near the Haber Viaduct also uncovered 5 oak coffins, which is an extremely unusual discovery. Roman tombstones often portray the dead lying on a bed or sofa. Thus, these objects may have been meant for usage in the afterlife or for a high-status individual's burial. Number 2. Roman Mausoleum. Central London, not far from the Shard, was the site of the June 2023 discovery of an exceptionally well-preserved Roman tomb. The most complete Roman tomb ever found in Britain, this astonishing discovery is said to be one of a kind. The walls, floors, and even the entry stairs of the building have all endured for about 2,000 years. Archaeologists excavating the tomb uncovered a stunning mosaic within. The mosaic, characteristic of Roman art, had a center flower around by concentric rings of red tiles. Interestingly, behind the first mosaic was found a second one, indicating that the floor of the tomb had been elevated throughout its usage. It is quite probable that the mausoleum was a family tomb or at least a resting place for the rich Roman elite. Even though there were no caskets discovered inside, there were more than 100 coins, fragments of pottery, and other relics that revealed something about the lives of the people who were buried there. More than 80 Roman graves were unearthed in the region, along with artifacts such as glass beads, bone combs, and copper bracelets. Number 1. The destruction of Bari. A combination of a volcanic explosion and a prolonged drought ultimately doomed the ancient Egyptian city of Bari. Bari became an important trading post around 275 BC, when Ptolemy II, pharaoh of Egypt from 285 to 246 BC, founded it. War elephants and other goods came into the city from the southern Red Sea. Unfortunately, Bari's demise came from its dependence on the Nile River. The city saw a major change in climate little than a century after its founding. The Nile no longer flooded as often as it had in the past, due to a volcanic explosion that occurred in 209 BC, which greatly decreased summer rainfall from the African monsoons. As a result, Bari and other cities experienced a severe drought, fresh water shortages, and agricultural failures. When an uprising against the Ptolemaic dynasty occurred 2 years later, plunging Egypt into anarchy, the situation became even worse. The loss of royal sovereignty over broad swaths of the kingdom led to widespread starvation. Because it couldn't support itself, Bari was left behind in the end. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.